Welcome to episode 12 of the Mile 62 podcast. I'm your host, Richard Elkins, coming to you from Austin, Texas. We cover all things ultra running in the southern United States, especially in the Texas region. Tonight I have an exciting podcast. I hope the audio is good. I'm not using my DR40 today. I'm using my iPhone to record this, so I hope the audio is good. I'm going to do a technical review on the Ultraspire Zygos 4.0 14-liter vest. One disclaimer, I am on the Ultraspire Immortal team. So I'm always wearing their vest, and I'm part of their running organization. This vest is I picked up last month, and been really impressed with it. I've run, I think, about 30-40 miles with it. And just kind of some background, I have experience using several UD vests and Nathan vests, which I still have. I use time to time. But going forward, I'm planning to use only Ultraspire vests. And this is my first vest. So the Zygos was my first one. It's highly recommended. And I like the size. It's 14 liter, which means it's a little bit bigger and gives me room for carrying extra things on the really long runs, like 100K plus. I like to have a lot of pockets, and most important thing for me is I want a vest that's not going to chafe me. When I did Javelina 100 in October, I was wearing the Nathan Carr vest, and I got chafed real bad under one of my arms by one of the zippers. So that's a big thing for me. Also, how fast you can take the hydration bladder out is real important to me. I always tell people something I learned from a real good running coach. He says, you want to know which vest to buy, just work an aid station at One Ultra. You'll change so many vests that you'll know which ones work and which ones don't. Because some of them are a lot of work to put the bladder back in. Let's get started. So this vest is a lightweight, high capacity with a lot of pockets. In the front, it's got several pockets which could hold a Ultra Flask bottles, which don't come with the vest, but you can buy those as if you want to use bottles in the front. I usually will use handhelds, or I'll use a bladder. I don't like bottles in the front of my vest. I typically will put my iPhone in one of the pockets. The nice thing is on this vest, it will go on both sides, where on some of my vests it will only fit on one side. The 2-liter reservoir comes with a magnetic clip. As you'll know, that on some other brands they stopped using magnetic clips, and that made a lot of people angry. The magnetic clip is really important, and this thing comes stock with it. And the valve is really easy to replace. Ultraspire valves are easy to pick up, like an REI. I actually used them before I bought an Ultraspire vest. I would replace the valves on my other brands of vest with Ultraspire. It's a really good valve. It's only like $4 at REI. So I always suggest keeping a few valves with you, and don't bite it with your teeth. If you have any sharp teeth, if you bite it with the front of your teeth, the valve will not last very long. It will start leaking. And that goes for any brand of vest. It's something that I always tell people, just kind of advice. I learned the hard way on that. So this backpack, it's got a big pack in the back with extra pockets where you could actually hold 4 liters of extra storage. It has 4 liters of extra storage, so you could actually fit another bladder in there if you wanted to, or just whatever food, supplements, whatever you want to put back there. It's just got a huge amount of storage. And like I said, the front pockets, you can put there's 2 small pockets, one really small one on the right side, and then a little bit bigger one on the left side. I like to put a knife in the left side. It's just the right size. And I can put my key on the right side. It's got a real small pocket, and it will hold a car key, electronic key, whereas I've noticed on some vests they will not. The chest straps are very unique. They're made of like a shock cord, or I would say bungee cord with wire-formed hooks. These will adjust as needed when you're running, but they won't get loose. I've had some other brands of vests where they're using a sewn strap that kind of overlaps and you pull through. Well, those tend to loosen up on you, and you have to tie them in a knot, which makes them hard to adjust. This has got a patent pending, they call it a shock cord. I think it's more a shock or bungee type cord material, but it's real thin. And it's got some little plastic injection molded knobs on the end that will help lock in place on these wire formed hooks. I think it's really a great invention. When I first got it, I really didn't understand completely how to use it. I had to watch a video online. I probably suggest they would put a instruction manual with the vest on how to use that. But once you understand how it works, it's a very clever idea. The materials of the vest are silicone, and I think it's a polyurethane coated featherweight nylon, which resists water, and then of course it helps it wear very well. And they've got a type of zigzag stitching over the elastic, which improves the durability, and then of course the stretch and rebound. It supports that. One other thing that I didn't really completely understand when I bought the vest was the bladder attachment. I was trying to it's like a sewn 1-inch cord material with a plastic square on there. And when I first got it, I was trying to figure out how to undo it. It was so simple that I didn't understand it. And then I looked at the video, and basically you just slide that square in the top of the opening on the bladder, and then it becomes, so you're sliding it in horizontally, and then the square becomes vertical, and it holds the bladder in place. It's really clever. It's so simple that I couldn't figure it out at the beginning. I thought it couldn't be that simple. But it holds it in place, and the bladder pocket is up against your back. So you have a backpack in the back of the pack, but you also have a pocket on the inside of the pack which holds the bladder. And so if you have ice in your bladder, this is going to keep your back warm. So I think it's going to be real nice during the summertime. But the thing I like about it is you can really get this bladder in really fast and get it out fast. So you'll reduce your time in aid stations, which we all know is very important. The vest comes in black and emerald blue. Size, I got black. As everybody knows me, everything's black. It's one of my favorite colors. But it does come in emerald blue, and they come in a small, medium, and large. I bought a large, and it fits just right, maybe a little bit big. I tighten it up some, but large is definitely for me. I'm about 6 foot, 190 to 195 pounds, but I bought a large, and it fits well. So you can kind of take that as a reference. In the back, it also has some hiking pole holders, which are really nice. Once you put them in, and it'll hold your hiking poles horizontally. They're a little bit easier to use than other packs. Other packs have hiking pole holders, but I think these are very easy to use. Like I said, no chafing. I've got close to 40 miles on this vest, and I've had no chafing problems. And I think that's about it. This vest is made in Vietnam. They've done really good work, and highly suggest it. You take a look at it. It's also got a built-in whistle. Most vests do, but it's a pretty big whistle, which is nice. If you were to get in trouble, there's a whistle there. The side pockets hold a lot. They're very similar to the side pockets on other vests. On the left side, I had probably about an inch of zipper I could not zip up when I had it on. I may have had the vest too tight. Once I took the vest off, they zipped up fine. So I need to fine tune how tight I put the vest on. But the side pockets, they're on the side. Like on all vests, they're a little bit tricky getting into, but I think these are positioning forward a little bit better than other vests. And they hold a lot of gels, a lot of space for whatever you need. So highly recommend this vest. Check it out. Like I said, it's Ultraspire Zygos. That's Zygos 4.0, 14 liter. I think it runs about $174, which is kind of in the ballpark with the other vests. But I think it's got features that the other vests don't have. Highly recommend it. Next, I'd like to talk about the Mosaic Trail 50K. This will be a race recap. I ran this 50K last weekend. It's in Liberty Hill, Texas. It's really nice because it's about 10 minutes from where I live. Probably the most convenient ultra I've ever done. It takes place on the Indian Mountain Ranch. Indian Mountain Ranch is a private ranch. I'm not sure how big it is. It probably has 100 acres or more. It's huge. And cattle, horses, and there are some people living on the ranch, but had no issues with any interference from the horses or the cows, and Tejas Trails did a really good job. The race course is, like I said, it's 50K. They had a marathon and some smaller distances as well. I think they had a 10K and a 15K. I ran the 50K, so the 50K was 5 loops of 10K. So it takes, as you know, it takes a little bit of mental fortitude to, run loops. I don't particularly like ultras which have a lot of loops, but sometimes you can't avoid it. It just quite a few of them are set up that way just because the point to point takes really a lot of land. So this one was 5 loops of 10K. It was kind of a figure 8. So it had one aid station at the start finish. So you went out to the left, and you basically made a lollipop through a lot of single track and some fresh cut trail, a lot of cedar stumps, which made it kind of challenging. So it was a figure 8. On one side is 5K, on the other side is 5K. So you went out, like I said, you go on a single track. Not too technical. There were some technical sections, and like I said, there were some stumps, couple-inch cedar stumps, because they had to look like they freshly cut to improve some of the trails. But this time of year, there are some leaves on the ground, and they covered up the rocks and these stumps, and it caused me I think I fell probably about 5 times in this event. When I say fell, I tripped, but I caught myself, and that can be very painful, sometimes more painful than actually falling down, because you kind of grab the ground with your quads, and it kind of jerks you and really puts a lot of stress on your hamstring. I caught myself in all cases, but some of them were pretty scary. There was one time when I tripped near a ridge line, and the stupid thing was that I knew the ridge was there, and every time I ran by there, I said, well, I'll slow down and be careful. I don't know if I was daydreaming or what, and I wasn't too close. I was probably 10, 15 feet from the ridge, but it fell probably 30, 40 feet to a river. And I was coming down the hill, and I tripped, and I caught myself. But boy, that really woke me up, because I could have stumbled and fell off the ridge. It really scared me. It's probably one of the most nerve-wracking things that's happened to me in an ultra, probably in 6 months, since I saw the rattlesnake in Possum Kingdom race, which wouldn't let me cross the trail. It's weird how some of these things happen. Anyways, I was fine. I caught myself, and I was a lot more careful the next 4 times I went through there. The start-finish, they had a really nice 8 station. So, like I said, it's a figure 8. So you do one side 5K, then you come through and stop if you need, fill up. They had tailwind. They had some V-gels there, V-fuel gels, and they did a pretty good job. The only thing I would say that was a bit disappointing about this race is the participation. There wasn't many runners in the 50K. I liked a lot bigger field because I'm kind of in the middle to back of the pack, and when things thin out, there's not many runners out there, and I kind of attribute that to them not using Ultra Sign Up. I really wish Tejas Trails would use Ultra Sign Up. I think that would increase their participation. I remember a few years ago when I started racing, Tejas Trails is really the biggest one in Texas, and now trail racing over Texas has really overtaken them with participation, and I really think it's due to them not using Ultra Sign Up. So anyways, I've talked about that on previous podcasts. I just think that's the way they can improve. I really like the ownership of Tejas Trails. They do a real good job. Same thing with trail racing over Texas. Rob does a great job too. We've got two really good race directors here in Texas. Well, enough said about that. Highly recommend Mosaic Trail 50K. It's in Liberty Hill. It's every year in December, and they've got 10K up to 50K race, and it's very nice if you're in the Austin area. The weather was pretty good. It wasn't too cold. It was a little bit, on a Texas level, it was a little bit chilly. And when we started, they did start at 9 o'clock. I wish they would have started at 7 o'clock. Did make for a full day of running. Would have been nice if we could start it a few hours earlier, but it wasn't too bad. Other things, ultra news. Brazos Bend 100 was also last weekend. I planned on going down to Houston and working in aid station, but I wanted to run the Mosaic Trail 50K. Patrick Reagan came in from Georgia and set a course record, and just did a really good job. Run the 7-minute miles the whole race. I think he finished in 13 hours and change. He recently won Javelina when I was out in Phoenix. He's just a really nice guy and a great runner. And proved to everyone else that he's going to continue winning this year. I think that we're going to see some big things from him in Western States coming next June. Julie Kayfetz, it's Katyfets. I don't know her name very well. I've heard of her before. She got first in the women's, and I tried to find her on social media to see if I could potentially interview her, but I couldn't find her. So not a real well-known name in running, but boy, she really did a great job. She had actually won the race before. I think it was last year or the year before. Anyways, they had a great event. Heard a lot of good things about Brazos Bend 100, and I plan to run their Brazos Bend 50 in April. It's called that, but actually they have 100K. I'm running the 100K. It's on the same venue, they're in I think it's Needleville, Texas. So I look forward to that. Going back to my race schedule, it's changed a little bit. So my upcoming races, the ones I'm really focused on right now, is the next one, which is Bandera 100K in Bandera, Texas. This will be my third time to run that race. I really enjoy that run and plan on doing it every year. So I got a few weeks before that comes around. My goal this year is to get under 17 hours so I can get the Western States another qualifier for 2021. 2020, I found out on December 9th that I didn't make it in the lottery, but I'll have more tickets next year. I'll give it another try next year and keep going until I can get into Western States. So that's Bandera 100K in January. In February, I'm doing Jackalope Jam. This will be my first timed event. Well, not technically my first timed event. Actually, my first ultra was a 12-hour timed event in the San Jose area when I lived in California. This will be my first looped timed event. I'm going to do 72 hours. So it starts on Thursday, and I'm planning on running to Sunday morning. I'm going to put up my tent and see. I'm just going to see if I can go for a few days. This is important to me because I want to see if I can do a multi-day event. I know I can run 30 hours or 29 hours, but I want to know if I can go 2 or 3 days and sleeping a little bit in between. Because it's a precursor. I want to do some of these 200-mile events and longer events in the future, but I want to make sure my fitness level is right and I have the capability to be prepared physically and mentally. So this 72-hour event, which is held in the same 7IL Ranch, which is the same place they hold the Habanero 100, which I've done many times. It's a 1-mile loop. And basically, you're trying to get as many miles in you can in 72 hours. They also have the 24-hour and 48-hour. So I'm planning on putting up my tent and just having a good time, running when I can, sleep a little bit, take a break. And I'm going to see how many miles I can get in the 72 hours. I think it'd be a good challenge for me. I'll be ready. So that's taking place in the middle of February. And then March, I don't really have anything yet, but I think I'll need some recovery period from the Jackalope Jam. But early April, I have Brazos Bend 50, like I mentioned earlier, which is a 100K. That's in Needleville, Texas. And then during the summer, I plan to do 4 or 5 series races with Tejas Trail's Summer Night Series. I did that last year. It's good, usually 30 to 60K. It's complete. It's all ran at night. Most of the venues are about an hour or two from where I live. So that'll take me through the summer. In August, the end of the summer, I plan to do Habanero 100 again. I've done the 50K and the 100K this year, or I should say next year. Next year, August, I think I'm going to try to do the 100-mile, which would be really challenging because of the heat. But I know the course well, and why not? Why not try to finish the 100-mile event? And then in October, depending on how I do in the Jackalope Jam, I really have my goals set on doing the Moab 240, which is a 3 or 4 day event through Moab, Utah. Either I will do that, or I will go back to Javelina 100 and do that run again. So that'll be my October. And then later in the year, I'll probably just do some local races. And another thing I've also been thinking about, which I kind of jumped over, is in May, is the Cruel Jewel. That's in Georgia, over some really tough mountains. That was on my radar last year, and now that I've finished 100, I qualify for that one. That's a really tough 100-mile run in an area of the country that I really want to go run in. Some really beautiful mountains in the Georgia, Tennessee area, and this one takes place in Georgia. Cruel Jewel is like 30,000 feet of ascent and descent. So it's a really tough race, but they give you, I think, 38 hours or 40 hours to finish the race. They give you a good amount of time to finish the race. It's one of the toughest races in the U.S., but if I can finish Cruel Jewel, I'll get 6 points for UTMB, and also it's a qualifier for Hard Rock as well. And so I can knock out 2 qualifiers with 1, because I do have a goal, not next year, but the following year. I'd like to do UTMB or CCC in France. That's basically one of the biggest ultra races in the world. So kind of on my bucket list. I want to run in the Mont Blanc area in France, and then someday I also want to run Comrades in South Africa. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. That's it for today's podcast. I appreciate you listening to me, and you can also follow me on social media. It's real simple. It's Runner RWE on Instagram, Twitter, on Strava. I'm under Mile 62 group or Mile 62 host. You can find me on Strava pretty easy. And now I'm also using Facebook. You can find me under Runner RWE. Just started using Facebook again. I didn't use it for a long time because when I worked in China for 10 years, it was blocked. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram was blocked, and I didn't plan to use Facebook again, but there are so many race directors which are using Facebook instead of email, and they post the race pictures on Facebook. I got tired of asking my brother to download the pictures, so and also some of my sponsors use Facebook, so I needed to get back in the game on Facebook. So anyways, I've set back up I'm using Facebook, Strava, Twitter, Instagram. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I've been using that since the beginning under my Richard Elkins. Always look forward to meeting new friends, and especially ones that are runners or share interest in my fields of work. If you have any feedback or questions, please email to me at runnerrwe@gmail.com. And I would appreciate if you give me a review on iTunes and hit the subscribe button. As you know, to download the podcasts are free, but if you leave me a review and subscribe, it helps me get traction and find more listeners, because I'll rank a little bit higher and I'll get on people's radar for trail running podcasts. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend and happy holidays to you.